Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
God Trump gets last rites. Can't take it no more, my mood's quite dour. Even from my view in this ivory tower, all this a coping, my darling, I fear won't make it right. Don't cut my funding, it's the way I deal. Ain't about the data, just the way I feel. Hey, you're a Nazi. I miss Obama, he'd bring the pain. If you cut my funding, it'll sink Ukraine. Hey, you're a Nazi. Elon's a troll, he's called me retarded. Twitter's dead and gone, I've been all but discarded. Used to go by they, them, but Trump said that's not allowed. My psyche's in splinters, my rage is knowing no bounds. Cut the cash for everything that once was underground. Now there's no turning back to spinning our old lies no more. Don't cut my funding, it's the way I deal. How'd we get here? It's so dang surreal. Hey, you're a Nazi. We could have had Harris, you racist swine, and that other guy would have been so divine. Hey, you're a Nazi. We all want to cut the government bloat. If that bloating's getting cut by good old liberal folk, no more funds are left. Trump did a billfold snap. It's treason to the nth degree, and I'm trying to recover from that old bullshun. Trump invested my boy dirty body in the EU's favorite son. It seems I no longer mind the mass casualties. Howling at the moon, mad as I can be. Trump's been a killing our democracy. And hey, you're a Nazi. Fuel the war in Europe, it's my new refrain. Trump's peacemongering is driving me insane. Hey, you're a Nazi. Don't cut my funding, it's the way I deal. How'd we get here? It's so dang surreal. Hey, you're a Nazi. We could have had Harris, you racist swine, and that other guy would have been so divine. Hey, you're a Nazi. Don't cut my funding, it's the way I deal. Ain't about the data, just the way.
America's on the rails. What we're trying to change tonight. From the halls of power to Main Street lights, we're tracking the shifts, exposing the fights. Truth seekers rising in heartland flame. Ricks calling names and we're joining the game. No filters, no fear. We pull back the veil. When the system rattles, we refuse to pale. America off the rails. We're wake up calls and rebel tales.
amigos de Televisión 41, ustedes ven algunos activistas tratando de detener la salida de
Let my people go! Let my people go! Let them go! Let them go! Let them go! Let them go!
Hey, get off the truck! Get off the truck!
Let my people go! Let my people go! Let our people
Get off the truck!
Let my people go!
Come on, y'all gotta move. Y'all gotta move. Y'all gotta move.
No! You won't take my fucking people! Don't take my fucking people! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! You're gonna kill me! You're gonna kill me! No! I can't! Don't touch me! Don't kill me! Don't
Get out!
touch me, bitch! Get the fuck off me! Stop! 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 You're gonna run her over! Stop! You're gonna run her over!
Carissa, you gotta go.
I'm not getting you!
Stop
Carissa,
Carissa,
you gotta run out.
No, please don't kill me! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! I'm a person! I'm a fucking person! Don't fucking kill me! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Don't fucking 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 kill me! Let my people go! Let my fucking people go! Let my people go! Let my people go! Let my people go! No!
Let go. Get out of the street.
Let my people go! Let my people go!
Bring your dog. These are parents. These are community members. There are kids waiting outside. There are kids waiting outside, sir. There are kids waiting outside to see their loved ones. Just let them
You're
go.
separating families.
These are our people.
You're
These
separating
are our
families.
parents. This is our community. This is our community. This is our people. These are immigrant workers. And you know this. They feed this country.
We will not let
this
them
country.
go! No! No!
These are
No! No! No!
our people.
No!
Let them go.
Let them go!
Let them go. Doesn't it hurt you? Where's your humanity? Doesn't it hurt you? You know you're kidnapping people. Doesn't it hurt you? Doesn't it hurt you?
Open the trust!
Where's your humanity? This is not about us. This is about our people, our community. Let them out. Taken away.
Let them out!
What are you
Let them
doing?
out! Let them out! Let them out!
Move back.
Get back!
On the sidewalk. Get back. Look out. Get back. Gave the order.
Don't hurt now!
I need the name of those who gave the order to drive past the speed.
Watch your back, guys. Just be careful and get off the street, guys. Be careful, all
I don't
right?
want you guys getting your toes run over. We're telling you to get back. We're telling you to get back.
How about now? Can you guys hear me now? Good Lord. Sorry, we had to do a bunch of rearranging today, and I've been in here hours today trying to get everything working again, and it was working. I swear it was working. And apparently it's working now, but the weird thing is it was working everywhere but one place. So anyway, back to what I was saying a second ago, since you guys couldn't hear me, is according to, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing again, but I thought this is kind of important. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has told sanctuary cities, if you have riots in your cities and you're not enforcing the law, you're not getting any of our money. Me likey that a lot. Dude, I was on a roll too. It's weird because everything else was working and then it quit. I don't know what happened. All right, anyway. Seems to be working again now, so I'm going to keep rolling anyway because it's live radio and it's kind of what you got to do sometimes. All right, so in the same vein, this is from Sarah Arnold. Apparently, there are left-wing groups paying influencers to spread coordinated anti-ICE propaganda. Not that we didn't know this already, but let's take a look. In what appears to be an effort to spread propaganda to young, impressionable individuals, left-wing organizers are reportedly paying social media influencers to spread anti-ICE propaganda to millions of followers. The paid campaigns aim to vilify immigration enforcement officers, distort the truth about border security, and normalize illegal immigration. The influencers push back on President Donald Trump's immigration policies, and rather than supporting the law enforcement who protect the nation's borders, the influencers are cashing in by promoting a narrative that undermines national security as well as the truth. Is anybody else not surprised by this at all? Anyway. All right. So let's talk about this real quick. I wanted to wait and do the show later tonight instead of trying to come on a little earlier because of the story that started shaping up over the weekend and all this stuff about the Democrat assassin suspect and how the story continues to get crazier and crazier. But let's see if we can find anything out about this. So it's a story that is really bizarre, but also horrifying. The Minnesota Democrat assassin has been captured. He was spotted via trail cam and apprehended shortly thereafter. It ends a 2-day manhunt for Vance Bolter, who was suspect in the shootings of 2 Democrat state lawmakers, State Senator John Hoffman and State Rep Melissa Hoffman and their spouses. Hoffman and his wife survived the attack, but Hortman and her husband were killed. Bolter was dressed as a police officer. Just in, security cam images show the assassin Vance Bolter knocking on a Minnesota lawmaker's door wearing a latex mask and a security guard uniform meant to look like a police officer. Dude, that's a little creepy. Hang on, let me put that on the screen. But, hang on. It's going to make me change. I always forget when I try to make the images bigger, it's going to make me go over to X. But yeah, so there is whoever was the one knocking on the doors. I know there's all kinds of theories floating around about that now, one way or the other. So we're going to kind of stick with this and see what other stories break, but I just kind of wanted to touch on this a little bit. So today, the Justice Department confirmed that we already knew, that this was a targeted political assassination. We also learned that he visited the homes of 2 other lawmakers the night he shot and killed the Hortmans. Police encountered Bolter inside his fake cop car outside the home of state lawmakers outside the home of a state lawmaker who was away on vacation. Bolter planned this attack for an extended period. That was according to CBS News. The FBI revealed during a separate conference Monday morning that Bolter had gone to the homes of 2 other Minnesota lawmakers the night he killed Hortman and her husband and injured the Hoffmans. After the shooting at the Hoffmans, home. Acting U.S. Attorney Joseph H. Thompson says Bolter went to a state representative's home in Maple Grove. However, that lawmaker had been on vacation and was not home at the time. Bolter then allegedly moved on to the home of a state senator in New Hope after learning about the shooting of the Hoffmans in Champlin. A New Hope police officer went to the senator's home to do a welfare check. The officer arrived to find what appeared to be another officer's squad car, later identified as Bolter's vehicle, parked outside the home. The officer tried to engage in conversation with Bolter, but he did not respond. By the time more officers arrived, Bolter was gone. The FBI did not identify either of the two other lawmakers whose homes Bolter allegedly targeted. Thompson says Bolton then went to the Hortman's home in Brooklyn Park. Upon arrival, police officers saw Bolter arrive several feet from the door. He instantly drew his weapon and began firing at the officers before he rushed inside the house, firing at the front door. He then shot and killed the Hortmans. Federal investigators allege Bolton stalked his targets and planned his attacks carefully, researching the victims and their families, as well as conducting surveillance on them for what appears to be an extensive period of time. This was a political assassination, according to Thompson, who said this on Monday. Bolter is facing state charges of 2 counts of second-degree murder, which seems to be a little light considering the new details, considering these attacks do appear to be premeditated. However, it has now come to light that the prosecutors are also going to be seeking potentially first-degree murder charges as well. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It actually kind of looks like a Walter White mask. I'm not even going to lie. All right, so we're going to do the musical interlude break. And in case you missed it at the top of the hour because we opened with it, and because it kind of fits again, this is the latest from our good friends, the Third Rail Ramblers. And here you go. Hang on. Technical issues everywhere tonight. What can you do? All right, let's try it again.
Straighten all doubt and proof of the crimes. Doges in town think it's the end of times. Try to wish it away and pray to God Trump gets last rites. Can't take it no more, my mood's quite dour. Even from my view in this ivory tower, all this a coping, my darling, I fear won't make it right. Don't cut my funding, it's the way I deal. Ain't about the data, just the way I feel. Hey, you're a Nazi. I miss Obama, he'd bring the pain. If you cut my funding, it'll sink Ukraine. Hey, you're a Nazi. Elon's a troll, he's called me retarded. Twitter's dead and gone, I've been all but discarded. Used to go by they, them, but Trump said that's not allowed. My psyche's in splinters, my rage is knowing no bounds. Cut the cash for everything that once was underground. Now there's no turning back to spinning our old lies no more. Don't cut my funding, it's the way I deal. How'd we get here? It's so dang surreal. Hey, you're a Nazi. We could have had Harris, you racist swine, and that other guy would have been so divine. Hey, you're a Nazi. did a billfold snap. It's treason to the nth degree, and I'm trying to recover from that old bullshun. Trump invested my boy dirty body in the EU's favorite son. It seems I no longer mind the mass casualties. Howling at the moon, mad as I can be. Trump's been a killing our democracy. And hey, you're a Nazi. Fuel the war in Europe, it's my new refrain. Trump's peacemongering is driving me insane. Hey, you're a Nazi. Don't cut my funding, it's the way I deal. How'd we get here? It's so dang surreal. Hey, you're a Nazi. We could have had Harris, you racist swine, and that other guy would have been so divine. Hey, you're a Nazi. Don't cut my funding, it's the way I
And welcome back in, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great Monday night. That's right. We survived Monday. If I seem out of breath, it's because I was working on my chair during the music break. Because did I mention we rearranged my entire studio today? So if I seem a little out of sorts, there's part of the reason why. All right. So we got to show this. This goes into the other thing that I wanted to talk about definitely tonight, and we'll get into the No Kings protest stuff a little closer. But this is the other big news from tonight. Hang on.
Tucker Carlson criticizing you, saying that you were complicit in the war.
I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen.
And quickly, have you spoken to Zelensky before your bylaws?
All right. So in case you don't know, Tucker Carlson and a few other folks have basically said if Donald Trump doesn't stop supporting Israel in their conflict with Iran, that he's basically going to split his base and his presidency's over. I don't think Tucker Carlson understands this. And this is coming from somebody who, look, I'll admit, I didn't like him at first. Then I started to like him a little bit. Now I'm back to really just not liking him at all. I had huge problems with Tucker Carlson back in the day because I was one of the people that really, was of the mind that we really need to stop putting people in jail that we're mad at and use our legal system to punish the people that actually deserve it. And I still stand by that statement. Unfortunately, shortly after I got involved in that whole criminal justice reform movement, the left got a hold of it and turned it to shit. But I still stand by those statements. So for the longest time, Tucker Carlson and I were on opposite sides of that issue. And then, I don't know, I started paying a little bit more attention to him when he was on Fox News. And then he left Fox News. And it kind of seems like he's just gone nuts ever since. But what do I know? Anyway, but look. I know there are people that aren't going to like this. And I'm just going to be honest about it. Donald Trump has always said there's one red line with Iran. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Iran has been the one telling Israel for the last couple of weeks, you had better strike us soon, because soon we will have the nuclear weapons, and then we will destroy you. And I know I sound more Russian than Iranian, but anyway. But yeah, it's a terrible situation. Iran has put themselves in that situation. Everybody forgets that before the mullahs took over, Iran looked a lot like us. They were a very westernized piece of the Middle East as opposed to what they are today. And the interesting thing is, it almost seems like Tucker Carlson isn't reading the tea leaves very well because, and this is the interesting part. This is the parallels between what you're seeing in our country and what you're seeing over there. You have a bunch of people who aren't risking anything by having kids beat the crap out of pinatas that look like Trump, telling everybody what an evil dictator Donald Trump is. Then you have the people in Iran who, because of all this and because of everything they're seeing start to happen, are now starting to burn pictures of the Ayatollah. Now, you want to talk about people willing to risk something. There's where you're really risking something. And this is one of the reasons why I think we've tried to kind of sort of thread the needle with Iran, because the Iranian people, unlike with Gaza, have never really been our enemy. Yes, they're the ones that'll go say the things they've got to say in front of cameras and this, that, and the other. But they'll also be the first ones to tell you anytime you ask that they're only doing that so they don't get killed. The folks in Gaza, they're militants. But there's a big difference there, too. The folks in Gaza, the ones that are there, are the ones that have been disowned by every other Middle Eastern nation because of the failure of their ancestors. That's the part nobody talks about with Gaza. The reason they are hell-bent on wiping Israel off the map is because it's the only way they've been told they could return to their original countries. And I'm not even talking about the original people that tried to do it back in the 60s or every time since. I'm talking about all their descendants. They have been disowned by their home countries. And the couple of times that other countries have tried to let them back in, they have acted like total asses. And here is another little interesting tidbit I came across today. So apparently some folks were trying to protest in Egypt. Imagine how well that went. And apparently it was, some of them were American little brats because they were talking to the Egyptian police officers and the people that were trying to stop them from doing what they were doing. Well, we could do this in America. Why can't we do it here? Because here you will respect our laws. And look, I get it. In America, everybody has a right to free speech. But when you start lighting stuff on fire, when you start trying to impede the flow of traffic, when you start breaking up sidewalks to create weaponry, those aren't peaceful protests anymore. Can we just start agreeing on that? I wondered if you'd heard that one yet, Amish. But yeah, that's probably one of the favorite ones for me. So I realized I don't think I've ever played it on this show, and I was like, you know what? With everything that's coming along in the news, it's kind of fitting again. So we might as well play it while we can. But anyway. All right. So in case you didn't know this, Trump is heading back from the G7 summit early and also convening the National Security Council. There's been an update to this story, which is why I wanted to look at it again. This actually just got updated a little bit ago. So things appear to be ratcheting up in the Middle East. On Monday evening, after refusing to sign a rather tepid statement on the Iran-Israel situation proffered by the G7 leaders, President Donald Trump posted to Truth Social a warning that everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Not long after, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt tweeted that Trump, who arrived in Canada Sunday evening for the G7 summit, would be heading home after Monday's dinner. And this is from her account. President Trump had a great day at the G7, even signing a major trade deal with the United Kingdom and Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Much was accomplished, but because of what's going on in the Middle East, President Trump will be leaving tonight after dinner with heads of state. Additionally, Trump has reportedly alerted the National Security Council to be prepared to meet upon his return. And that's from open source intel breaking. According to Fox, Trump requests NSC be prepared in Situation Room. Trump also reiterated what he means by America First. America First means many great things, including the fact that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Make America great again. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth joined Jesse Waters, and we have that clip, so hang on. I'm going to cue that up here instead of you guys having to hear me read it.
So you're going to be in the Situation Room pretty soon with the president. Is he still aiming for a nuclear deal with the Iranians?
Of course. The president's, as he said today, his position has not changed. What you're watching in real time is peace through strength and America first. Our job is to be strong. We are postured defensively in the region to be strong in pursuit of a peace deal. And we certainly hope that's what happens here. And America first means we're going to defend American personnel and American interests. So when you see jets and you see air defense assets and counter UAS assets. That's because my job as the Secretary of Defense is to ensure that our people are safe and that we're strong so that we can set the conditions for a deal. And President Trump's made it clear it's on the table. The question is whether Iran will take it.
All right. So the deal is still on the table, but all options are on the table from what it sounds like. What does that look like?
What it looks like right now is we're vigilant. We're prepared. And we've messaged consistently from the beginning that we're in the region to defend our people and our assets. And Israel took an action out of self-defense. We believe that Iran, as President has said from the beginning, should not have a nuclear weapon. That position hasn't changed. They can give it up peacefully. That position hasn't changed. And as a result, right now, we've got assets in the region and we're going to defend them. And we're going to be strong in the process. So people are reading into a lot of aspects right now. We're strong. We're prepared. We're defensive. And President Trump hopes there can be peace.
And that's just it, folks. He's still hoping for peace. But he's also understanding one thing. Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. And before anybody starts hemming and hawing and wringing your hands and everything else over what I'm saying, I would like to remind you that there was a very popular saying in the Islamic countries in the 50s and the 60s, and it was first the Saturday people and then the Sunday people. If Iran can do what they've been trying to do and remove Israel from the face of the earth, which I don't believe is going to happen, but if they can, then we're next. And if you don't believe me, just look at what's happening in Europe today. Europe is predominantly Muslim again. That hasn't been the case since the 1400s. Anybody remember Spain? At one point, it was almost 80% Muslim. Yeah, if you want to know the real reason why Christopher Columbus was commissioned to find the Americas, you should go back and listen to the Rick Robinson show from a couple of weeks ago, because we did a deep dive on the true history behind that one. But all right, so final segment, final thing we're going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. The one thing that I need you to understand is, with everything they said during the No Kings protest this week, they may claim they don't want kings, but we already don't have them. What they're really mad about is Donald Trump is removing their power base. That's what they're mad about. And they're spinning people up who are too afraid to pay attention. They get their news from only one or two sources. And I'm not one of those people. I know everybody, well, since you do this, I guess you get all your news from Fox. No, it's not true. I get my news from everywhere. Because I have to. Because I am a firm believer that we need to stop thinking that the media is not biased. And furthermore, I think we need to stop believing that it shouldn't be biased, because everybody that writes a story has an inherent bias. Trying to hide that is just stupid. So especially if there's more than one source for a story, unless it's what's been going on with the left lately with the bat signal stuff going out and everybody just parroting the same things from 40 different outlets, I think you really should try to get your information from multiple sources, because when they used to do it right, the truth was always somewhere in the middle. And this is the truth about the No Kings movement. We don't have any kings, but they want to make sure that you're the peasants. The people that are fomenting all these uprisings, they're the ones who think that if they can destabilize us enough, they're going to be the ones to wind up at the top again. Without you, without me. They're the ones trying to get rid of the middle class in this country. And I hate the fact that I even have to use that word, because we didn't used to have a caste system or a class system in this country, and they've created one for us. Then when that wasn't enough, they started putting us in all these other boxes. What color's your skin? What's your original nationality? What's your sexual preference? Because the more they can divide us, the more we fight with one another. And they have gotten us to the point where we are dangerously close to a new civil war. And if you don't believe me, just look at what's happening with the left. There were folks this past week telling Gavin Newsom that he should spin up the rest of the guard to stand off with the troops that Trump had federalized. That's a civil war. That's where we are. But it's not because of Trump. It's because of Biden. Biden, at last count, has let about 20 million illegal aliens into America. if you take all the numbers and you just look at them, it's roughly about 20 million. Now that is, of course, remembering that according to them, there were already 11.5 million illegal aliens before. That was probably closer to 14 or 15 million. Now, the good news is I did see a report earlier today that at least 1 million have self-deported on top of everything else that's going on. Right? And that's where I am. I don't care if they're 3 days away. I don't care if they're 3 weeks away. I don't care if they're 3 decades away. I don't think they should have access to that technology at all. And before anybody says, but nuclear is one of the cleanest energy sources we have, I don't trust them to not find a way to weaponize that stuff. And maybe it's just because I don't understand the science enough. Or maybe it's just because I don't trust anybody any further than I could throw them. But yeah, I firmly believe with what you just said. Agree and believe what you just said, Jeff. There is no way in hell I'm letting Iran get a hold of a nuclear weapon. It's not going to happen. Because first of all, if they can create that kind of material, do you really think they're just going to stop with conventional ICBMs or, short-range missiles to hit Israel? No. They're going to take as much of that material as they can and make as many dirty bombs as they can and just turn people loose with them and just do as much damage as they can because Israel isn't their only target. Ladies and gentlemen, and again, this is probably something that Corin and I will probably disagree with if he keeps allowing me to contribute to his show. But as somebody who has studied all of the major religions of the world, and yes, I have, to a point. I mean, I haven't done a deep dive on all of them, but I've perused a lot of their major texts and everything else. The major difference between Islam and Christianity is not just the fact that one is geared towards, a peaceful resolution eventually, and the other, there's been no reformation at all. But it's also how they believe their end of times, their end of days is going to be triggered for the return of Allah. And that is by soaking the world in blood. And it's right there. It's in their own words. And they try to tell you, well, that's just a metaphor. No, it's not. Look, I've said this before on a lot of shows that I've done. If you ever bother to study Islam, yes, it has a lot of similarities to the other Abrahamic religions, but those similarities are only on the surface. I firmly believe if you trace it back far enough, you will find that it has ties to the other son of Abraham, who was an Isaac. Because look at how jealous they've always been of the Israeli people. Abraham and Isaac were the fathers of the Israeli people. So with as much as they've constantly wanted to wipe them off the earth, would it not make sense that especially with all the similarities that there are between the two religions, would it not make sense that it may have started there at one point, but it diverted really, really far down the wrong path at some point? Because these people are told it's okay to lie to people that aren't like you. These people are told in their own book it's okay to kill people that aren't like you. That should terrify everyone to a point. Because if they're allowed to lie to you, how are you ever going to know when they're telling you the truth? And this is what we're dealing with right now. And let's not forget, the Iranian leadership was telling Israel, you better attack us soon, because if you don't, we will have nukes soon, and by then it will be too late. But all of this goes back to the same thing. All of these people that are spinning up all these protests that are now saying that we need to leave Iran alone, that are saying all of these different things about how terrible Donald Trump is, it's all for the same reasons. They need America to fail. I can't say it any plainer than that to you. They need America to fail. They want America to fail. All the people want marching, maybe not all of them, but the people organizing it, they need America to fail. This has been their plan all along. It is a plan that has changed multiple times, but this is the final variance that they have. They first started thinking they were going to be able to build up the rest of the world and then eventually fight over who was going to get the lead later. Because that's why they set the United Nations and everything else up. I mean, come on, they even let the cat out of the bag with Sequest. Who was running things? United Earth Organization? Sound familiar? Sound anything like the United Nations? Come on. Look, this is what they've wanted all along. And I'm telling you right now, some of this stuff on our side was done with good intentions in the beginning. Because these people that were creating all these things like NATO and the United Nations and everything else, they've read the same book that most you and I have read. They understand that for Christ to come back, there's a bunch of things that have to happen first. And they started thinking, well, what can we do to speed that along? Not to mention the fact that if you really pay attention to the Bible, we're already headed in that direction because they've already said the generation that sees Israel return to the earth will be the same generation that sees Jesus return. So we're about to find out one way or the other. But the one thing that I will say is we're also about to find out whether or not Israel is God's chosen people or not. Because they're about to be doing some serious fighting. I don't know how much help we're going to be doing, but I know there will be some because if we do decide to let Israel take out the nuclear programs, they don't have the bunker busters they're going to need to be able to make that happen. They just don't. We do, but they don't. And I think this is why Trump has convened the National Security Council and everything else, because I think he's starting to realize, hey, I gave them 60 days. Same thing with Russia. He's tried to get Russia and Ukraine to declare peace so many different times. I mean, at some point, you just got to start washing your hands up and say, look, I've done everything I can do. Now, with Russia and Ukraine, that's different. Russia already has nuclear weapons. There's not much we can do to put that back in the barn. Iran doesn't, though. And Russia, at least for now, has some restraint in using them, or they would have already nuked the hell out of Ukraine. But that's not what he's trying to do. The parts of Ukraine he's recaptured are predominantly Russian-speaking parts of the country. Because Russia is facing a population decline that nobody's really talking about. Hell, most of the world is, if you want to get really technical. But Russia's is worse than most, especially now that they've spun up their meat grinder known as their military. Just don't be fooled by any of this. Because Donald Trump is not a warmonger. Donald Trump is not a neocon. But he also understands Iran cannot be allowed to join the nuclear nations. It cannot happen. Because if it does, that's it. It won't just be about the missiles and how far their missiles can go, because they'll figure out how to do dirty bombs and everything else, and that'll be it. And that is just the truth of it, ladies and gentlemen, whether anybody wants to tell you that or not. I know a lot of folks don't like to just tell you how it is, but that's kind of what I do. And that's pretty much where we are. And again, as far as the No King stuff, they got to have their fun. I don't think it was anywhere near as big as anybody thought it was going to be, because every post I saw said, these are the pictures that I was able to take, but trust me, the crowd sizes were so much bigger. I'm like, dude, you sound like George Costanza. But I was in the pool. You would. You got me with that. That one, all right. That one has to go up on the big screen. So for those of you that aren't watching and you're listening later, if the chicks from Odyukin are representative, I'll head over there and help repopulate Russia. Yeah. Dude, I saw this story a while ago, and apparently it's still going on. Like, they're paying people to go to Japan and have babies. If I didn't have kids I was having to take care of, I already kind of thought about that. I'm just saying. Nice, Jeff. Nice. All right, folks. Well, believe it or not, we are just about out of time here. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to hang out. And considering I didn't even promote this one, I would like to thank you guys because there's over 500 of you hanging out with us tonight. So we're going to be heading over to our friends over at SHR Media here in just a minute. So make sure you guys hang out for that. And that will be the Edge of Liberty, hosted by none other than Sean Lewis. And he'll be getting that kicked off here in just a couple of minutes. I'll be back tomorrow doing the Rick Robinson show that starts at 10 a.m. Eastern time and runs until 1 in the afternoon. Then I'll be back tomorrow night with with Manorama. They're doing a special edition, Dad's Only edition, since Sunday was Father's Day. And then Wednesday, we've got Inquiry First. Then G is off, so I'll be doing the America Off the Rails show. Then we'll be going over and hitting things off with our Behind the Enemy Lines crew. Then Amish and I should be back for your 10 o'clock nightcap before we head back over to the SHR Media crew, where we should first have Sean Lewis again with the Edge of Liberty live, and then a replay from BZ's Berserk Bobcat Zone from Tuesday night. And then Thursday, I think Jen and Rick is going to be able to be back. We'll find out for sure later. And then after that, we'll head back over for BZ's Saloon again. And then Friday, I'm not sure what we're doing yet. Aggie's still on a bit of a hiatus, so we'll see. But so we don't miss the opening, because he usually kicks off in about a minute or so, I'm going to go ahead and turn you guys loose. But first, I got to ship you up to Boston. Not really, but he's from there. So this is usually how I send you guys over to hang out with Sean. So hang tight. He'll be on in a minute or so. Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, and the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
How is that? Nope, it's not any better. How is that? Oh, yeah, it's better? You guys can hear me now. Does that work? You can hear me, but there's echo. Very weird. Let me check a couple things. Look, getting on the air almost didn't happen. I'm going to tell the whole story here in a second. Oh, it's on the webcam. That's why. Hold on. How's that? Nope, that's not it. Is it that one? I know why. Hold on. All right. That's better. How's that, ladies and gentlemen? There it is. So, for whatever reason, the program I use to broadcast with, it goes through a website, and I couldn't get into the studio. I could get into the program, I couldn't get into the studio. I was on with tech support for the last 40 minutes, and we had to go, believe it or not, into incognito mode to do it. So, none of my permissions were there. So now, hopefully, everything's better and it's going to sound like shit on the podcast, but I don't care. So here we go. We got a lot to talk about this evening. I have a feeling that Israel and Iran are going to take up the most of tonight. I have a bunch of other stuff to talk about. However, this Cosmic Bard in the chat room. That's exactly how it was, too. I honestly got into my studio with 3 minutes left. I still hadn't printed out all my show notes yet. And yeah, it was definitely a fuck it, we're doing it live type thing. Thank you to everyone who's in the chat room. Cosmic Bar, Jersey Joe, Mission Ready Men, BZ, of course, the Phantom. Ricky Robinson is here. Thank you, Rick. And now I'm here, both in spirit and audio and visual. So BZ's with us, and I'm going to bring him in. But before I do that, I just kind of want to roll down everything that happened so far in the Iran and Israel conflict. Israel successfully hit numerous. Yeah, Joe, I know. I want you to send me that story where you're getting it from. Israel has successfully hit Iranian targets, the nuclear facilities all over Nanans and Isfahan and a couple other ones. I'm going to talk about how there's an other nuclear facility that nobody knew about, allegedly, except Sarah Adams. And if you don't follow Sarah Adams on X, you need to. She was a CIA intel person. She was in Benghazi during the Benghazi attack. She's been active since, and she has her thumb on everything that's violent in the Middle East. IDF reports limited casualties and damage. As I said on Joe's show earlier, there was 3 separate attacks tonight from Iran towards Israel using missiles. There was only about 17 missiles that were fired, which kind of, I think, shocked a lot of people because yesterday they fired a hell of a lot more. They were not very successful, but compared to the rest of the time that Iran shot missiles, they had a lot of impacts yesterday. I think they've killed somewhere up to 25 people in Israel and couple hundred are injured. And they said it was going to be worse today. Now, there is some experts out there. I'm not saying they're good experts. I'm just saying they're so-called experts who said that Iran hasn't got into the depth of their missile technology yet. They're just kind of getting rid of their old stock. We'll see if that's true. I don't know if I believe that. Today there was only 17, and I think only 2 landed, and I don't think they landed anywhere where they impacted anybody, which is very, very lucky for the people of Israel. Israel's intercepted 97% of the missiles fired at them. Missiles, that is Canadian Heavy Hauls in the chat room chiming in intelligently. That doesn't include the drones. The drones, they claim to have shot down 100% of the Iranian drones. Jersey Joe says they have an order in with Timu. Yeah, actually, I kind of think that's accurate, Joe. Earlier tonight, President Trump at the G7 summit tweeted out something to the effect of, I have the exact quote here, Iran should have taken the deal, and then he advised everybody in Tehran to evacuate the city. That tweet sent off a whirlwind of noise and speculation throughout social media, throughout the intel world, everything, because after that, and of course, everybody on the staff retweeted it. Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, the White House itself. And then after that, the White House announced that Trump would be boarding Air Force One after dinner. He wasn't staying for the rest of the G summit tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow and the next day, but he's leaving early. And the National Security Council has been told to be in the Situation Room when he gets back. So there's a lot going on. Tonight and today in Israel, it was really weird. There was a lot of odd pauses, and there was some yesterday too. Today had a lot of weird pauses. There was a lot of times that people were told to go and cover for a couple hours, and usually Israel, their home defense, does a really good job of, hey, now it's time to get to cover. Okay, the attack's passed. Usually they're in cover 20 minutes, half hour at the most. One point today was like 4 hours. So it was almost like they weren't sure if something was coming or not. And then there were reports out of Tehran shortly after that, in the city of Tehran, that there were explosions. Yesterday, there were reports that numerous Iranian officials, high-ranking, all of their vehicles that they were traveling in from one place to another simultaneously exploded. I'm trying to see what else we're missing. I'm just trying to set the tone. And then last night, there was 20 plus American tankers that took off from America towards Europe. We think towards Europe. There's a couple more today that are doing that. The Eisenhower, USS Eisenhower, is being moved from Asia to the Middle East. It was supposed to replace the Carl Vinson. The Carl Vinson's going to stay now. It is not leaving the region. And it will be joined by, is it the Eisenhower? I think it's the Eisenhower. If I'm wrong, somebody yell at me. There's so many different things going on right now that I can't even keep it all straight. And I have notes that are supposed to help me keep it straight, and I can't keep it all straight. Now, the biggest question is why? I mean, the U.S. has been on high alert in the region since this started. The line in the sand was, hey, Iran, if you touch any of our bases or any of our troops, there's going to be hell to pay. That's kind of the stature that the U.S. was taking. Pete Hegseth said that a bunch of resources would be moved into the region just in case. That part does not shock me because there's conflict in the area. There's conflict with an ally, and we don't want to be caught behind the 8 ball, right? You get out ahead of it. So you just get everything in place. You know, it's almost like having a gun, right? I'd rather have it and not need it than not have it and need it. Why is my hat all jacked up? I'm really upset about that. It's bothering me. So that's why everything's moved into the area. So we're kind of in a sitting position. And one of the things, and this coming in from Jersey Joe. I know he sent me a message on X. I don't know if I have that up right yet because everything was here we go. Jersey Joe sent me this. Thank you, Joe. Allegedly, there are 3 unconfirmed reports of ships on fire in the Gulf of Oman near the Straits of Hormuz. Social media posts, including photos, claim to show 3 vessels ablaze in the Gulf. NASA firm satellite imagery shows 3 heat signatures in that same area, but authorities haven't confirmed their ship fires. Oil markets reacted. Crude prices ticked up following the report. So we don't know. Damn, that's heavy. We don't know if something was actually hit. Now, the other thing too, you got to realize, I don't know where any of this stuff is that they're alleging happened, but Iran does have oil facilities out in the Gulf. And it's possible Israel struck their oil facilities out in the Gulf. That is a possibility as well. I think we're caught up. Oh, one more thing. And this is something that I said, and now I'm seeing it. I'm not saying I was smart enough and I said it first. I'm just saying that I've said it and I'm seeing it start to show up in other places. New intel says the U.S. might be quietly deploying a B-2 to drop GBU 57s, which are the bunker busters, on the Fordo, I could be saying it wrong, nuclear facility, which is where they believe the enriched uranium is being held all the way underground. Oop, I just got a. Oh, let me see if I can pull that over here. So while I'm working on that, and because I'm still setting everything up because I only had 3 friggin' minutes to do so, I'm going to bring in BZ, my friend, my old friend, and I do mean old. And we're going to move him there. And then I'm going to do this.
Old, great, thanks.
There we go.
I live it. I love it. That's me.
Look, if you want to be little circles, we can do that too. Look up here.
Look, he's angelic.
It actually makes me feel like I'm drunk and I'm looking at 2 different things out of each eye. Like
I know, yeah. It looks like, there you go. Now it doesn't look like binoculars.
This is what happens. So one of the things was, PZ, is I'm logged in incognito mode, so all of my settings are off, and I have to keep asking permission for everything, and it's just jacking me all up.
I hate that when that happens because you get things ready for a nice show.
I was
and
ready
then
to go.
all of a sudden, somebody shits in the punch bowl, and all of that stuff happens.
Somebody was really, really happy with our choices. And I clicked on the wrong thing. Here it is. Cosmic Bard said we look like 2 boobs with the circle view, and I think that's fantastic. I'll tell you right now, BZ, this podcast version of this show is already going to be garbage, and I apologize to the podcast users because it's just been a nightmare getting it going. In a share screen. So BZ sent me this. So Jersey Joe sent me the intel. BZ sent me this. And I didn't even log in because it's under incognito and I don't care, but I can get the post. At some point, I can get the post. There it is. Photos are currently circulating, which appear to be 3 ships on fire off the coast of Iran and the Gulf of Oman near the Straits of Hormuz. NASA Fire Information for Resource Management System firms maps confirm 3 fires in the Gulf of Oman.
Now, I got that, and I sent that to you because you mentioned Sarah Adams.
Yes.
And I couldn't remember, gee, did I follow her or not?
Yeah,
so as you were speaking, I went to her site, and then I found that on her site.
Yeah, so this is scary, but it could also be, it could also be the oil platforms, BZ. If Israel's trying to really hurt, because a lot of things you got to remember, and BZ, I'm sure you'll agree. Iran not being able to produce oil is worse for Iran than not being able to produce a nuclear weapon.
Well, and in some ways worse than our sanctions.
Oh, yeah, because our sanctions did shit. We know that for a fact.
Well, we gave them all back. Here, have your money. We don't care.
Yeah, well, and then of course now that it's out that we're taking defense, it's so funny too. You have so many war hawks who months ago were like, "Oh, we have to deal with Iran. We have to get over Iran." Look, I've said before, I don't want U.S. boots on the ground. I'm not even sure if I want to be involved in the bombing of this. That being said, I understand the tactical approach of it, and I understand the outcome that is desired. But then in the middle of all of this, we have this massive blow up in the Middle East. Israel is blowing Iran back even further into the past. And you have this idiot, Chris Murphy, who I know.
Yeah.
Everybody knows he's a moron, and it's just nauseating. Chris Murphy says the president does not have the authority to make the decision. There's no imminent threat to America from Iran. He cannot take this action without congressional authorization. I will not vote to give him the authority, and I likely represent the majority of Congress.
Right. Like Congress gave Obama the authority to drone the shit
Out of everybody.
Yeah, including Americans. But hey, memory, and nobody has one. Historical Alzheimer's, no issue.
Yeah, and I think you're on your PC mic again.
Damn it, Jim. I thought I corrected that. Okay, here we are. Un momento, por favore.
How about
So
that?
BZ. Oh, there you are. There's that melodic, beautiful voice.
Was the golden tone.
So BZ,
sir,
this brings us to a crossroads, if you will, because one of the things that all of us voted for Trump on was to keep us out of wars. This starts to get into the question of if we throw a B-2 up in the air and throw a couple bunker busters and move on like we were never there and not do anything else, is that keeping the promise of staying out of forever wars? Or by not doing it, could it potentially lead to a forever war?
Wow. Those are truly existential questions that Republicans look. Democrats and Republicans. Now, Lindsey Graham is going to love the shit out of whatever it is that Trump does.
Oh, yeah, he's cranking one out right now, just thinking about it.
I know he's in a one holer somewhere, hunkering down. That's Lindsey Graham for you. That's a really good question. Now, from my understanding, the Israelis have their own similar unit. However, it's not as effective. And the ones that we have, the GBU 57 A and B, the MOPS are much more effective. And we recall, as a matter of fact, I remember you saying this on your show, and I said it any number of times, but you most recently said, hey, remember when they moved a bunch of B-2s to Diego Garcia? And I said something similar to, yeah. So just as you were setting up your show, I said, I wonder what the range is between Diego Garcia and, say, Tehran. Well, I discovered it's 3,300 miles. And I also seem to remember you right there saying something similar to, hey, didn't we have a whole bunch of movement from KC-46 tankers, a bunch of them, maybe even some ancient KC-135s with the new upfit CFM engines like I have on my
your
refueling.
tanker.
Right.
Yep.
And that wasn't cheap. But
are you going to upgrade to the Pegasus for the Kettle One refueling, or are you going to stick?
I'm going to stick because I don't necessarily need to do that. And I went to the all glass cockpit and I went to the new CFM engines. That was enough for me right now.
Okay. All right.
You will need refuelers. The fuel capacity on a B2 is 167,000 pounds. The range, now this would be a little squeezy, but they could do it. The range of a B2 is 6,900 miles. So
one loop.
Yeah, so basically if you're kind of sort of frugal, you could Diego Garcia over to Tehran, say, or well, actually it's not in Tehran, it's wherever those sites happen to be. They're not going to be in Tehran. They may even be shorter. I do not know. But all it would take is one loop, 3,300 miles,
in and out,
which is 6,600 miles with 300 miles to spare. You're going to refuel those bad boys.
Well, and there's
in the midst of that, but that's feasible. You could do it.
You're not going to risk being correct for 300 miles.
Yeah, you're not going to go bingo fuel on a B2 just on account of because.
And the other thing too is we already have refuelers in Asia that could hook up with them, hit them up on the way in or the way out, and take care of that. I mean, we already have that stuff set up over there because China, being the issue that it is, has made sure that we've had resources spread out all over the country, all over the world, I should say. Um, Cosmic Bard says, and folks in the chat, I actually want to get everybody's opinion on this. I want to put you all on record. Do you think dropping a few of these bunker busters, the GBU 57s, in order to end this completely is the right choice for Trump right now? And I think this is a hard choice, and I understand why people might be on the fence about it, but I'm putting it on the people in chat. I need you to speak up and say yes or no. BZ, I'm going to put you on first. Do we do it or do we stay where we are?
I'm kind of the opinion that Trump is going to leave that in reserve. He has made no bones about the fact that he would rather not go with regime change right now. And it's perfectly understandable why. We're not in the midst of that. Enemies exist on all sides of Israel except the Mediterranean Sea, which is why Israel's enemies say, from the river to the sea. That means wiping out Israel completely
off the face of the planet.
And so with all the wars in which Israel has been engaged prior, Israel, I get that they are interested in regime change. I mean, how would you, as a little winky dinky nation who has fought, I counted 23 wars, which I won't delineate right now, October 7th, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago, had a horrendous attack. Babies, children, adults set on fire, slaughtered. At what point do you say that you're going to draw a line? Because it's quite well known that Iran is the funder of anything terroristic, period, end of statement. Now, Trump would rather negotiate. Netanyahu would rather go in and go for regime change.
Mm-hmm.
Completely understandable. But it's like taking out a Democrat. If you take out somebody, if you take out Hochul, for example, in New York, because of the nature of New York, is what you're going to get better or worse than what you replaced? That's a huge chance that you take. So if for whatever reason you decide that you can or you will take out Khomeini, not Khomeini, Khomeini, well, you're going to have to take your chances. Israel has proven any number of times that. Didn't you, Sean, think that it was abso-fucking-lutely brilliant, the pager war?
Yes.
Beep, 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 boom.
Yeah. And that was the simultaneous car bombs today or
air
yesterday.
Defenses. Yeah.
Yep. Simultaneous car bombs on military leaders all over the city went off at the same time.
That shit is brilliant.
It is brilliant.
And the Israelis.
I get what you're getting at. And here's the thing, too. There are a lot of reports that say the Iranian people en masse are sick of Khomeini. They yearn for the 70s, went back when they could actually just be normal human beings, even though we trumped up the Shah, we propped him up, and it benefited us. The people of Iran were happier than they are now. That is by all accounts, all reports. I don't know of anybody other than Iranian hardliners that are arguing that fact. So the yearn for regime change inside the country, I think, is there. You look at Iran right now, and it's like looking at the Soviet Union, 1989. They look like they're in the 1970s, for God's sakes, right? It's brutal. People disappear all the time. They kill people all the time. It's a horrible regime. I know it's not our fight. It isn't our fight. Now, have the Iranians over the years killed a lot of Americans? Yeah. Numerous bombings. I mean, they have absolutely killed plenty of Americans through the years under Khomeini. There is no doubt about that. Cosmic Bard says, don't forget the F-15E can also be used for GBU-28 and GBU-72. That is correct, but by all accounts, only the 57 will do the damage that is needed to do Ford Row and get rid of it. I'm not saying that is the expert. It's everything that I have read about that, how deep that facility is.
See, here's the other thing that I believe everybody must take into account. So, in achieving regime change, how do you go about enabling this? Because, to my way of thinking, the only true effective regime change is accomplished from within and not from without by some sort of extra national force doing
Well,
it's more effective if you can get those people
let me throw this idea by you
to do that.
If, let's just say, and this is hypothetical, let's just say you have the UAE, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and even Israel, because all of them apparently on the surface get along fairly decently now, go, oh yeah, and by the way, we recognize the Crown Prince of Iran, the Shah's son, as the new leader of Iran.
Yeah, you had mentioned that, yes.
Now, he has been making the rounds lately. He's all of a sudden, and I get because all the eyes are on Iran right now, but he's popped up out of nowhere, and now he's making all the rounds and talking about how he's the rightful heir, blah, 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 blah. So that does bring up a possibility that could have already been worked out. Look, we get rid of Khomeini, we get rid of the upper command staff. We have enough. I mean, let's face it, if anyone knows what's going on the ground in Iran, it's Mossad.
Oh, yeah.
They know better than anybody. Even the allies of Iran, which is Russia, China, North Korea, and a couple of other shitheads. Senator Chris Murphy, he has a hissy fit over everything. I'll tell you right now, he is definitely voted in Congress most likely to sit down to pee. More so than the Sarah dude woman out of Connecticut. So anyhow,
yeah.
But I have to tell everybody, and I've said this last week on my show, you have to look at everything that Israel is doing from Israel's perspective. You can't look at it from an American perspective because we do not have bunkers in every neighborhood to run to in case there are missiles coming from our enemies, right? If you're Israel, and I said last Wednesday, I don't care if you like Israel, you don't like Israel, you like Netanyahu, you don't, it doesn't matter. Take all of that out of the equation. You live in Israel right now. The people who are constantly attacking you, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, the three biggest ones, because the Egyptians are now our friends, the Jordanians are now our friends, the Saudis tolerate us, the UAE and we have a decent relationship with. So outside of those three groups, nobody is bothering you. Are there always going to be the odd terrorist attack? Yes. But if you are Netanyahu and you say, hey, if I take out the head, which is Iran, these other three groups fall anyways. If I get rid of the leadership in Iran, Hezbollah no longer gets missiles. They are rendered ineffective. The Houthis don't get any missiles. They are rendered ineffective. You see where I'm going with this. Hamas, same thing. They're rendered ineffective. Also, the war in Ukraine, where Putin is using a lot of Iranian drones. Because Iran, if they've done nothing else, they've actually got good at doing attack drones. That's something that they've actually excelled at, to the point that they build an aircraft carrier for drones out of an old tanker. And that is completely 100% true. So they have locked into the drone technology that Russia has been using in Ukraine a lot. It would be a major blow to Russia if they could no longer get those drones. And then we get to the end game, which Ricky Robinson just said. What happens if they are allowed to get nukes, if they already don't have them? Some experts argue that they already have them. They already have that 90% enriched uranium. Some say it's only 60, but if they can hit 60, then 90's not far away. Kiwi Last, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good to
Our
see
friend
you.
from down under. It's always nice to see you come back. It's about time you pretty up the room outside of the Phantom. It's just a whole bunch of ugly mugs in there. Anyhow, that's how you keep listeners, Sean. That's how you keep listeners. So if you look at all of that as the Israeli leader, you have America who's willing to back you with equipment. You have America who's willing to back you with arms. Do you finally say, okay, it's time to end this once and for all? Now, they kind of said that, as you pointed out, with Hezbollah, where they blew the shit out of everybody. And then every time somebody was announced the new leader of Hezbollah for the next 24 hours until their palace or complex got blown up. And then they announced a new leader of Hezbollah. Rinse, repeat. Hamas, they've essentially leveled all of Gaza because of Hamas. As a result, they're not going to be too much of a threat as long as they're not getting funded. BZ, you are now the Prime Minister of Israel, sir. What do you do?
Well, you have to take some things into consideration. Syria has already been removed off the big dog playing board. Syria is not a major player so much anymore. So that leaves Iran.
Mm-hmm.
You keep funding, you keep sending money to Iran, you keep supporting them. Iran is the great locus from which all other terrorist support stems in terms of money, which then purchases weapons, equipment, training, men, material, etc. So the other axiom is Iran never has anything that it won't not use. That is to say, if the assumption has to be, because history has indicated, if they have something, rockets, missiles, they're going to use it, including up to and including nuclear weapons. They're not having them just so they can wave them around and say, well, great, like that Jeff, the ventriloquist guy, Jeff
Dunham.
Jeff Dunham. I kill you.
Yeah.
Kill you. They say, when they say that, they're not kidding. Netanyahu is the Israeli equivalent of Trump. Trump is America number one. Netanyahu is Israel number one. Just by dint of that, there are going to be some conflicts. I get it. But the biggest question is, I understand Netanyahu's motives, and this is finally, it appears to be an opportunity in which you may possibly end up defanging your biggest enemy, who funds and support all these other splinter groups that are completely surrounding your postage stamp country. So if this vacuum exists, it's got to be filled with something. If this opportunity exists, will it exist next year? Netanyahu might be rather silly, stupid, and fattening, but he's none of those things. He's going to take advantage of something that he sees. But the big question is, will he do it? He knows, I think there's something driving him within. Yeah, he wants to, really bad. But the other question that I think he has to grapple with is what you discussed earlier, is regime change. He wants it, no doubt.
Who are they going to get in lieu of it?
But yes, an enemy, there would be a massive sucking power vacuum if you displaced it with whomever, and then you get the terrorist muzzy of the day to step up into whatever, they would create power as quickly as possible to try to assemble things. So that
a perfect example.
This is a cyclical BZ thingy saying, I really don't know the damn answers. I know what Netanyahu wants to do. I know his motivations for doing it. Can he do it? Because this is a rather unique opportunity. Do you go for it? Are you tired yet of missiles and drones striking you since 1948? and endless wars.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, Kiwi Last, this is something I brought up too, on X, said, I've said for 10 years, stay alert in the homelands, people, that mass shootings in New Zealand inflamed radicals. If you have a regime change in Iran, that is something that's going to happen. You're going to have more terrorist attacks in the Western hemispheres. It's just going to happen because we support them. They're going to be angry groups, and it's a thing that you have to take into account as a potential issue. You were talking about a power vacuum, and I say recent history, you just look at what happened in Syria, right? They got rid of Assad. Assad was a monster. Everyone knows Assad was a piece of shit, but Assad was very much like Gaddafi and Hussein. He was the evil you knew, and up until the Syria revolution, he kind of kept everybody tamped down. Bashar al-Assad fled. This new group that is essentially ISIS akin took over the country. They've been killing Christians since. They've been killing anybody who does not fall in the line and agree with them. This is what happens when you leave a power vacuum. It gets filled, and you don't know who is going to fill it.
Iraq is chaos.
Yeah, Iraq is chaos.
Are you going to duplicate Iraq into Iran? And the people that will continue to be suffering will be the civilian population, who at their fundamental face are oppressed people,
and young.
They were civilized, and they want to see some civility back, but they've been ruled by muzzy nutballs.
Yep. Well,
But
and so
it's a terrible conundrum. What do you do?
Well, and Cosmic Bard brings out a good point. You look at Qatar, Oman, the UAE,
Welcome,
that have relaxed
everybody.
alcohol rules for tourism. Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon have already relaxed rules as well. Look, and if you get rid of Iran, you get rid of Hezbollah, essentially, and that helps Lebanon out. I don't know why Lebanon never had the ability to take Hezbollah out, because you got to remember, before Hezbollah really came up, you had the war with Lebanon and Israel in the 80s. That was just rough and horrific and terrible. And then that stopped, and Lebanon evened out, and it started to become a rather nice. A lot of people are starting to vacation there. A lot of people are starting to spend a lot of time there. And then Hezbollah took over the whole southern part of the country, and it killed the rest of Lebanon, the regrowth that they were starting to have. It does not, and this is my conundrum, is the power vacuum. That being said,
you can take actions, but can you accurately foresee the results?
Well, my question is, if you are Netanyahu and you're on the precipice of forcing that final decision, right? Because rumor had it that Trump called Putin when all this kicked off and said, "Hey, Israel's unchained. We're not telling them where to hold back on. We're not telling them what to do. They're making their decisions. We're staying out of the way. You may want to call your friends in Iran and tell them." Which is why yesterday there are rumors that suddenly Iran wanted to come back to the negotiating table.
Yes.
To negotiate a nuclear deal, because all of a sudden, not to say we let them off the chain, but we kind of let them off the chain, right? We were always holding Israel back a little bit. We were always holding Israel back a little bit. They did what they had to do. And when it came to Gaza and stuff like that, hey, that's their country, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's their country. Responding to Hezbollah and the Houthis, okay, they're just taking out terrorist groups. They're big terrorist groups, but they're still terrorist groups. It's not nation changing and nation building and rebuilding. Iran would, in fact, be nation rebuilding. And does the Western civilization have the stomach and the finances? The answer is no, to rebuild an entire nation like they tried to do in Iraq. No, we don't.
Well, in Iraq,
that being said,
example of that.
Right. Well, and you run into the same problem, right? It's Sunni versus Shia, which Muslim group's going to take over, and how are they going to run the country? Now, as Cosmic Bard pointed out, you've had a lot of Muslim leadership in the countries around there who've kind of modernized and said, hey, we can make way more money by being cool than by blowing shit up over the last 30 or 40 years.
Carrot that Trump tried to wave in front of Gaza.
Yep. 100% yes. That's why I remember there was the picture of like, I don't know if he released it or somebody else did, but there was the AI picture of like vacationing in Gaza.
Yeah.
You know, where it's
Lebanon
like, hey,
used to be a beautiful country.
Yep. Iran used to be a beautiful country. I want to say it was Cosmic Bard earlier said it used to be the oasis in the desert. And it very much was. If you look at the 60s and 70s and the 50s, even in the 40s, yeah, they had their little interfighting as every country in the Middle East did back then. But you saw civilization. It was like Afghanistan before it got overrun. You had civilization, you had education. Women could be educated back in the day. They didn't have to walk around with burqas on. They weren't beaten in the streets for looking at the wrong person, yada, yada, yada. It was a much more civilized society. That was when you had the rise of the Ayatollahs and you had the rise of, what's his name there? Yasser Arafat.
Oh, there was a prick.
They turned around and said, wait a minute, we're losing all the Muslim control on this, where men are running everything and women and children get beaten and killed if they don't stand in line, and we can't just be these essential kings of our homes and yada yada yada. And they clamped down. We're losing our Muslim identity is what they hid behind. And that's why they started blowing the tits off of everything, right? So you have a chance, and this brings me back to my initial question. Nobody's hard answering yes and no in the chat room, which I think is funny. It shows me that it's not an easy answer.
No, it's not for anybody. It's fairly easy for Israel. It's not easy for us. It's extremely easy for Lindsey Graham. But the other thing you have to ask is, all of these things Trump said, hey, I gave you today, I gave you 60 days. You weren't interested on the 61st day. Now you're interested in chatting a bit. I'm not convinced that I'm interested in chatting with you anymore.
Well, one of the things that...
And then said, get out of Tehran.
Well, and on the 60th day, hell reigneth from above, right? It brings you to the spot where I firmly believe that Trump is probably with Bibi on the phone saying, look, you do what you got to do. We'll do what we got to do. And everything will be just fine on the other end, right?
You can't convince me that those two guys haven't been chatting like two little crazed brothers, and they already know what's going to happen. They've already made agreements sub rosa, and now basically it's up to Netanyahu. I think the parameters have been laid out. Trump has indicated what he'd rather see. Has he taken all the gloves off of Netanyahu? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But his simple statement of, hello, get out of Tehran is called a major clue. So that indicates to me, okay, perhaps some kind of major bombardment of Tehran from above, because Mossad already beautifully removed all their air defenses. That was just... Folks, would you not agree with Sean and me right now? Would you not agree? That was sterling. That was absolutely brilliant.
Makes you wonder if Mossad and Israel didn't share that intel and idea with Ukraine, saw how it went and said, yeah, we can do that too.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you're talking a bombardment from above, because that kind of indicates to me that Trump is saying, yeah, take my hint, take my clue. What form is that going to take? It's clear that Israel owns all the air over Iran. They're in the process of wiping out all the missile sites, as you said earlier in the show. They went from missile, and now not so many. So to me, that shows a certain percentile of efficacy in terms of removing their ability to strike like that. But there's so many variables.
I'm going to throw something at you.
Okay.
And Cosmic Bard says, I'm 100% for finishing this. Let's do something we have not done in a long time. Let's set a goal of winning and finishing. And I agree that if you make that decision to go, that should be your ultimate goal. And as Canadian Heavy Haul point out, this is where politicians have a tendency to get very flaccid in these situations in every country, not just America. It's the optics of civilian casualties holding everyone back, and it 100% is. And it's 100% you have to worry about it. Nobody wants to see innocents get hurt. BZ, I'm going to throw this at you.
Okay.
We know all of these strong men live in their bunkers. What did Saddam Hussein do once he realized we were coming?
Hidey hole.
Right. How many Nazis were caught fleeing via Italy going to South America once the Reich fell?
La cucaracha. You need pointed boots to get them in the corner.
If you turn around and you say, hey, we're coming, and to quote a very awesome movie, and hell's coming with us, are you going to scare all of these high-end Iranian leaders out into fleeing where Mossad can start grabbing them at will?
Well, where'd Yasser Arafat go? His wife went to London. He was a multi-millionaire off the deaths and the blood of so-called Palestinians.
And Israelis.
And Israelis. But he didn't give a shit about his own people. None of these fucksticks ever
They don't care. They don't care.
They don't factor.
They don't care. And if you see, there are a lot of Iranians who fled or a second generation who are all over social media saying, look, those people want this over. They want those people gone. They want their freedom back. It's a very young nation, as I said earlier. Most young people yearn for true freedom, right? I mean, that's just something that we know to be true, especially when it's been deprived from them for so long. I will set a contrast. The blue-haired pigs that are in this country that constantly scream about how their rights are being assaulted have never once lived under true tyranny. The only cage they've ever been in is the one the Democrats keep telling them that they're in. It's all mental and emotional. It's not real.
They have never known for want. Never.
The contrast to that is people that have lived truly under oppression, communists, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq back in the day, they understand what essentially anything has to be better than what I'm fucking living in.
Lily Tang Williams.
Yes. Yeah. Prime example, Lily Tang Williams. God love her. She is just an amazing human being, but she will tell you what life was like in communist China versus life is here. And she does tell you all the time on social media if you follow her. She highlights the differences on the regular to show how much freedom matters to the individual, it matters to the soul, and it matters to the country. So, and now you do have some on the left saying, hey, because I'm looking at Mark Kelly, essentially, Mark Kelly did an interview with Anderson Cooper tonight, and he essentially said, hey, we have an opportunity here that we may want to take a look at because we cannot have a nuclear Iran. So as much as Chris Murphy's saying most of Congress, I've already found somebody from his party who said, maybe dropping a couple bombs wouldn't be the worst possible thing we could do. I don't know what the right answer is. I will tell you, if you put me where I said earlier, I am now in charge of Israel. It's my job to defend my homeland. And I'm trying to look at what the best way to do it is. I'm taking them out. I'm making the change. And, you know, I know there's the devil you know mentality, but if they already have a plan, Israel does not take a leak without taking a plan with them. Netanyahu, Mossad, intelligence, his whole life, like him or not, highly intelligent human being. Highly intelligent. You look at the planning, you brought up the pager thing earlier. Yeah. You also look at what Mossad did back in the 60s of getting Nazis, stealing them from other countries and bringing them back to Israel for prosecution. If they have nothing else, they have plans to win. So something tells me that they already have a plan for what they would do if the Ayatollah is taken out tomorrow.
Oh yeah, just a couple of Mossad guys took
Well,
out Gerald Bull.
Yes.
When he was good friends with Iraq. It's like,
Yep.
here today, gone tomorrow. Bye.
And remember, it was what, 6 months ago, I think, when Gaza it was back in October. It was a couple months after October 7th happened. You remember that there was the bomb that went off in Iran that killed a bunch of people that Mossad agents smuggled in. So that tells you, between the drones, the bombing that happened there, and there are Mossad agents all over Iran. They have their finger on the pulse of how the country feels and how the country would react. If you have all that information, BZ, I ask you again, everything that we just talked about, and we just killed an hour talking about this. I haven't even done an update to see what's been going on. But everything we talked to, do you pull the trigger as the leader of Israel? Literally and figuratively.
If I'm okay, I'm gonna have to predicate this. I think that you're right in terms of there are lots of Mossad elements that are already in Iran that are just there, that are hanging around, and they're not just the ones that took out the aircraft batteries. I think there are probably any number of Mossad elements or Shin Bet elements that are in Tehran that are actively reporting, and some may know where Khamenei is and where some of the other people have disappeared. Or are they there? They'd be stupid to be there, but there's no accounting for that. A great deal will be, does the United States send a B-2 over what site that is? I can't think of the name of the site. You mentioned it earlier. I think it starts with a G, something like that. Yeah. Do they do that? Or two B-2s, because one of those things fills up each B-2. It doesn't carry two of them. Does he convince Trump to use them? If he does, then Trump faces some serious problems at home, potentially on both sides of the aisle. Lindsey Graham, however, will still be hunched over because that's him.
So here's
I think Netanyahu's inclination is go.
Yeah. And I think Trump's inclination is, you guys go. I don't think he's ready to pull the trigger per se. I think there's a lot of posturing being done right now to show Iran, hey, we're serious, and if we have to, we'll hold our nose and do it. But yeah, we're not really thrilled to do it. I will tell you right now, if my option is to send two B-2 Spirits over, drop two GBU-57s, and end Iran, or not have to deal with them as a nuclear power nation for another 50 years, and you think about the violence that ends towards one of our allies, I think if I was Trump, I'd do it.
I don't think there's any doubt that your doubt, anybody else watching right now, the entire world would benefit.
Mm-hmm. And you make it crystal clear to Israel, we'll drop these two, but we're not doing anything else. We'll give you guys ammunition. We'll give you guys all the support we've been giving you. We're not going in. We're not getting boots on the ground. We're not fighting for a regime change. So if you know what you're doing and you're ready to cross this line, and this will change the entire region forever. And by the way, it's stealth bombers, so nobody's going to know we're there. So come up with a really cool story about how Mossad infiltrated for a drone, was able to blow it up from the bottom up. And then I'd be like, yeah, absolutely, I'll do it.
Well, okay, you bring up an interesting point. If Mossad/Shin Bet has been able to infiltrate all those elements of Iran, and I suspect up to and including maybe the IRGC. I'm sure they probably have some insertions in the IRGC, which is why they've essentially been gutted and nullified to a great degree. What is the possibility that they may have gotten into that facility, and or are they in the process of wiring that place for large sound in the not too terribly distant future, whereas then we would be not needed? Now, the other thing is, I think the Nimitz carrier group went in on the assumption, because obviously with a carrier group, there are attack submarines that you'll never know about because that's part and parcel of a carrier group. But when we rained a few things on Syria early under Trump 45, those are the platforms from which cruise missiles are issued. That is to say, from ships, from subs, ALCMs, from planes. I have not heard of any B-52s that are in the area, but
they're in Diego Garcia.
ALCMs can be launched from B-2s as well.
They are in Diego Garcia.
Okay.
So,
those
I
are
forget
all
who pointed that out to me earlier, but I know there's a few on the ground there as well. But also the
those are all
B-52
platforms ready to go.
Also from the B-52, they can take off from Barksdale and be over there in 16 hours and not have to land, hit it, and go if that were the case.
But I think that's an original setup in terms of Iran. If you're sufficiently stupid to rain anything upon us, it's like it's like this button. Okay, if that was you, here we go. Shit is about to get nautical.
It's like I used to train my dog not to come into the kitchen while we were cooking. Here's the line. If you cross it, we're going to have problems. And his nose would be right on the edge of that line, just absorbing all of the odor that it can from the kitchen. He wouldn't cross the line because he knew there were actual consequences for it. And I think that's where Iran has to make its decision. Now, if tomorrow one of their missiles ends up in Bahrain or ends up somewhere where U.S. military personnel are, it obviously changes the entire perspective, because we said we're defensive, and if they attack us in their spat with Israel, they just made us offensive, which is the worst thing that they could do. Which is probably why it hasn't happened yet, because as we know with these lunatic leaders, it's all about maintaining power, and they don't want to push so far that they get pulled out of power. But as I said about Iran last Wednesday, these folks are religious zealots. They firmly believe in what they speak and what they preach.
They believe their own press.
Yes. And they are willing to die for their own cause, which is something that many in this country do not still to this day grasp about the Iranians and the leaders, I should say, of Iran, not necessarily the Iranian people themselves.
Copyright writer. 4 ALCMs launched. That's fucking glorious. That's wonderful. Copy that. I just took photos. Yeah, I'm getting a stiffy.
Well, I'm telling you right now, BZ, if in 3 weeks from now, when all this is said and done, and Mossad's like, yeah, we were able to infiltrate Fort Dro and we blew it tits up, yada, yada, yada. And the back of my mind, I'm going to always be like, there's a good chance there were 2 B-2s that we never knew about that just happened to be in the area and happened to land just fine, and nobody knew they were there.
And as I want to say many times, es my jobbing.
Well, it is the end of the hour. We actually went over a few minutes, which is fine because I started late because of stupid program. BZ, sir, tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, I have a show tomorrow. Lonnie Poindexter is coming back.
The
Lonnie
amazing one.
Poindexter, had triple bypass surgery in December, and
Best
he is,
dressed man in radio.
oh Jesus, this guy is absolutely unbeatable. So I've got him on Tuesday night, and then Thursday night I have a really cool and unique cat, a guy named Dan Toth, who I met when I went to the BIG Bigfoot conference in May of last month. And dude is a retired U.S. Navy SEAL. And now he started BIG, the Bigfoot Investigative Group. And what he does is he's trying to prove the existence of Bigfoot. And he's doing, you ever see the video series of this dude that goes into kennels, and it's called Sitting with Dogs?
Yeah.
Okay. He's doing that in the middle of nowhere with NVGs, and he's already gotten some great results. He's going to be showing videos. He's got some photos. Dude is just one of the coolest cats I've ever spoken to. So he's going to be here on Thursday night. So Tuesday and Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for having me on, sir.
There he goes, the amazing BZ. Sir, as always, it is a pleasure, and I appreciate you. Off he goes. Folks, that's it for me. Thank you so much for enduring the beginning. I apologize for the audio issues. It will not, well, I can't say it won't happen again. I'll try everything I can to make sure it doesn't happen again. I had lists of stories to get to tonight that I just could not get to. The breaking news was just too much to cover. Thank you for everyone in the chat room. Please like and subscribe. Like the episode. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. You can catch me every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast on the SHR Media Network. But it's not just me. It's not just BZ. You have the Reaver of Common Sense, who was polite enough to have me as a guest earlier in the evening. He's on at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East Coast on Mondays and Fridays on the SHR Media Network. And as if that wasn't enough, the big man, Big E, Mission Ready Men, my old dear friend, is on every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. So you have to check him out. And as if all of that just wasn't enough, I'm just going to keep throwing great shit at you. KLRN. You see the Cosmic Bard and the Lost Wanderer that show up in the chat room. You see Ricky Robinson shows up in our chat room. That is because they are our good friend, and you can catch my show on their network. They simulcast us. I am so thankful. But also check them out. KLRN. You can find them on X. Real simple. Just searching KLRN and boom, there they are. I'll talk to you. Wow, it's Monday. I'll talk to you Wednesday. I hope you have a great couple of days. Be safe.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars. Come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.